What's up YouTube? KidMoto22 here, coming to you guys today with another install video. Today I'm going to be doing an install on the Lucky Speed Shop Shorty levers. So I got these levers really for two reasons. Number one, aesthetically, I like the way that they look better. And number two, kind of how I like to ride, especially when I use my front brake. I like to use two fingers on the brake lever, and this just allows me that flexibility that I've been looking for. Now I've heard that if you're riding in an area where there's a lot of traffic, that Shorty levers actually can be a little bit more difficult to use. I haven't found them to be difficult so far. I've only done the install and I've done a little bit of test pulls and everything, so we'll see what they're like when I get out and ride with them. I'll probably talk about that later on in a moto vlog and give you a full review once I've done a ride with them. But this really right now is just the install video, so let's get to the video and we'll get to that install right now. All right, so I'm going to be installing the Shorty levers like I told you guys in the intro. And what we have here is the Lucky Speed Shop Shorty levers. And one of the things to note is that these levers are actually a little bit different on each side. So if you can see that, there's a little bit of a different shape to this lever, which is the brake side, versus this lever, which is the clutch side. So that shape on there is a little bit different. You just need to know that so that you're installing them obviously on the correct side. Some of the things I'm going to need is just a little bit of grease and some needle nose pliers, and I have an Allen wrench that I'm going to use for my phone mount, and 1/4-inch drive to take the mirror off, and my hand guards. So a lot of this install in the very beginning is just going to be me taking things off of my handguard area so that I can do the install of the actual levers themselves. So yeah, so let's get to the actual install. And these Shorty levers that I'm going to be installing today are from Lucky Speed Shop. So I like how these look, the feel of these. So yeah, I'm really excited to get these installed, and we'll go from there. Next thing is I need to remove my mirror and handguard, and I'm just going to go nice and loose with these. I don't want to get too rough. I have cracked a handguard before by just over tightening it, and so I'm just taking my time with this part. So the bottom screw that holds the mirror in place and holds the handguard in place also holds the assembly for my front signal light. And so we'll just let that hang down for a second. And I can take the mirror and the handguard out, and I have the bolts there. So when your signal light comes down, where this pin connects is where the snap ring is that removes the pin and allows the handguard to come out. So it's actually, this side is actually a very easy install, is essentially taking the snap ring out, taking the pin out, and putting the new guard in. So I'm just gonna wipe this down, clean this up a little bit since I'm in here, and then we'll go from there. All right, now that I've got that cleaned up a little bit, I'm going to remove the snap ring that's right underneath here. So the pin is sitting right up here, and I'll remove the snap ring, which is right underneath the bottom of that pin. And there you go. That's what we're looking at. That's the snap ring right there. You're going to want to set that aside because you need to use it later. And now it's just a matter of taking the pin out. So right there is the pin. And the lever slides right out. Just like that. I'm going to clean up this area a little bit, and then I'm going to add some grease around here, just like there is in there. So I'm just feeling this cup here. I'm going to add some grease up in here and some grease down here, as that's what's in there for that lever, and we'll go from there. That's all I'll be using to grease that up. Just going to dry fit this to make sure this fits into place. I'm going to wipe off the excess grease that's on the outside here. And I will place the snap ring back on the bottom. And the snap ring is in place. And we are good to go. All right, I'm going to get this side buttoned up, and we'll get to work on the other side. All right, so just like on the clutch side, the brake side is going to be much the same. I have to remove the mirror and the handguard first. And then this one's going to be a little bit different because I have to take the actual controls apart a little bit so I can get in there a little bit better because of the different shape in the lever itself. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking that apart, and we'll go from there. And so in this part of the assembly, I'm going to have to remove the bolt that's up here and a bolt that's down here, okay? And then this part will come, I'll take the assembly apart, and that way I can get into the inside of the assembly, because the shape of the lever is a little bit different on this side. And so I showed you that in the very beginning, that the shape of the brake lever and the shape of the clutch lever are a little bit different, and so that's where this definitely comes into play. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pin, or the snap ring. I'll leave the pin in place, then I'm going to remove the assembly, and we'll go from there. Okay, so just like on the other side, there's a snap ring that's holding the pin in. So I have to gain access to that snap ring, and the access to the snap ring is underneath the connector for the front signal. And so the snap ring is exposed down here, so I'll use my snap ring pliers and I will pop that snap ring off. It's really important that you have the right tips on your snap rings, because these things, if you do not, you're going to have some terrible luck trying to get these connected. As it is, it's not the easiest thing in the world. But once you get them in there, they come off really quite easy. So you can kind of see that is a super small piece right there. All right, so now that I've got that apart, I'm going to be taking this part of the assembly apart, and for that you need a T27. So I have the T27 here. So I just took the assembly apart, and now I have that part apart, and you'll be able to see how this all goes together in just a second here, because the plunger has to fit directly inside of the brake housing in the inside in here. And so I'm just going to set this down here for a second, and I'm going to get the other pieces that I need, and we'll go from there. All right, so I have this portion of it taken apart. I'm going to pop the pin up through the bottom, and that takes the pin out for me. And at that point, the lever will slide out. And you can see again, right on the front there, right here is a different shape in that lever. That's right there. And so that's where that Shorty lever has to kind of go on there. So, all right, so at this point, you just need to make sure that when you're getting it in there, that you have gotten the plunger piece for the brake in here into the plunger piece in there, where you can see that I put the grease. So you can see I added grease right in there, and you just want to make sure that those two pieces are seating together. And that fits in pretty well, just like that. I'll put that pin back in there. So now I'm just kind of adjusting the lever a little bit to get it lined up so that the pin is a little bit easier to go in. So it does take a little bit of finesse to get this in. So you do have to put a little bit of pressure on here, and that pushes on that plunger on the inside to get this pin in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put that pressure on there and get this pin lined up and dropped in. And there we go. All good. All right, we're done. Well, there you go. Install's done. They were pretty easy to do the install, especially the clutch side. I mean, taking the front signal off, pulling the pin, and essentially putting the grease on and putting the lever in was really pretty easy. The brake side was a little bit more complicated. Obviously, the shape of that lever is a little bit different, and so you had to take some of the control apart a little bit. Again, not super difficult. I wouldn't say that this isn't something that anybody that's got a few simple tools should be able to do this kind of an install. It was fairly easy. You're not taking apart any of the cabling or anything like that. It's really just replacing that, that lever itself. And really just the pin is the only thing that's holding it in. I hope you liked the install video. They're really not that difficult to do. I think that most people, if you have some you know, simple tools, could do it. Torx wrenches, you know, 1/4 ratchet, and you do need a snap ring, pliers. That's pretty much a must to do this install and to be able to do it correctly, because those snap rings can be removed and used and reused if you have the correct tool to do it. But yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, right? Hit the subscribe button up here. And per usual, I'll put another video that you might like up here. This is Kid Moto. I'm out.